Hello and welcome to the Federal Special Live on CJP's decision to call off protests over NEET irregularities and paper leaks. What started off as a satirical outfit had now led to the resignation of Modi government's Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan. Joining us to decode what's next is author and senior journalist Mr. Nilanjan Mukhopadhyay. Thank you very much for your time, sir. Let me begin
Thank
with
you.
you. The Cockroach Janata Party has called off protests with immediate effect. Does this officially mean the end of not just the protest but also the outfit in itself?
I do not think that it is appropriate for us to say that this is the end of the outfit because among his speeches immediately after the announcement that Dharmendra Pradhan was resigning, came a statement made by Abhijit Deepke at Jantar Mantar in New Delhi, where he said, "This is the first wicket, many more to come." So, which clearly means that various issues which have been flagged during the last few days, while these protesters were, out there in New Delhi and reportedly in about 100 odd cities in the country, creating a massive traction. I think that we will hear a bit more of the Cockroach Janta Party, maybe in not in this name, but maybe in some another avatar. But the sense which has been generated, the sentiment of the youngsters in the age group of 15 to 30, who were the bulk of the participants in these protests, these people are not going to seal their lips now forever. After having, with their first protest, secured a victory, they
That's
definitely would be raising their voice time and again on various issues.
yeah. Dharmendra Pradhan's resignation letter, where he said, he decided to step down as not to, offer anti-social elements an opportunity to exploit the current situation there. And the government sources, especially if you look at the national channels, you get to understand that they've all suggested that this was entirely Dharmendra Pradhan's own decision there. So even so, would you still view this as some kind of a course correction by the Modi government there?
First of all, I do not think in this government anybody else except Mr. Modi takes decisions, and that too on a very important decision like the resignation of a minister, especially when the resignation is going to be interpreted as a tax, as a bowing down by the prime minister, or as a taking a step backward. So I think that this was a fairly well thought out decision after Mr. Modi realized over the last 2 days when he tried to reach out to the protesters by his two videos, and they did not really work out. In fact, he got ridiculed more than what he had been ridiculed in the past few days. So he realized that there was absolutely no other option but to get Dharmendra Pradhan to resign. And so then he must have asked him to put in the papers. And that is what has possibly happened.
No, I think, see, when you have a minister like Dharmendra Pradhan resigning, don't you think it'll have a profound impact on the prime minister himself? Because this is about, it's a Modi government, as you said, it's somebody, right? Don't you think that'll have, the elections are coming up, next year. How do you see it on that note?
You see, basically the CJP protest shows us that protests still work. One of the most remarkable, features that we saw during this entire protest was that the idea of protest being a very romantic idea is not dead. I'm saying romantic in the sense, in a much wider sense, not in the sense of interpersonal romance. I'm talking about generally having a romantic worldview all over, and that is what has propelled across the countries, in various places, wherever the younger people have come and protested. It's the drive to make a mark, to bring about change, the capacity to say that even holes can be picked in the sky. All that you have to do is to try and throw a stone in the direction of the sky. There will be a hope someday or the other. So I think this has really worked. And if that makes a comeback into our country, then this entire narrative which the BJP has been pursuing, that anybody who does not think like them is an anti-national, is an anti-social element, as once again Dharmendra Pradhan's letter says so, they are not going to find many takers. Increasingly, more and more people are going to say, I disagree with you, and here I am. Here are we with yet another protest on another issue.
It's also important to discuss where the opposition stands here. I think while the opposition has expressed solidarity with the protesters, the movement has
Right.
largely remained student led there. Rahul Gandhi, the leader of opposition of the Lok Sabha, for instance, did not visit Jantar Mantar, though he did extend his support, organizing a protest, in 7 Lok Kalyan Marg near the Prime Minister's residence and all that. So he got detained as well. And Monday is likely to be crucial because the parliament is going to be convening on that day. But how do you see the opposition taking this issue forward? Now the protests have come down. How do you see the opposition taking this forward?
Well, I think the first this question should be asked to the BJP. How are you going to take the issue forward? You did not have, 1 week of parliament functioning. So, what is the government going to do to ensure that parliament functions in a proper way? What are the things or the issues that you want to bring into the house? First of all, I think that the opposition would demand, if and when the government asks the opposition to sit in a meeting with them to decide on the business for next week, the opposition should ideally like to seek a discussion on the protests that happened
Hmm.
and what led to the resignation of Dharmendra Pradhan. What
Hmm.
is the government planning to do to correct the wider set of issues? It's not simply, as this protest have shown, not just an issue of the leak of the NEET examination paper. This is a
That's
much
okay.
wider issue which the
Yeah, yeah.
students have been repeatedly saying about the systemic failure and the issue of accountability. Now, these are hardcore political issues, and I would like these issues to be debated on the floor of the house, in both the houses. It should be done, and adequate time should be given by the government. If not, I think that there will be a disagreement between the opposition and the government. We do not know what then will be the repercussions of that. Though the government will say, despite us being so nice, they are still protesting because they do not want the house to function.
Before we wrap the conversation, one last question there. So, do you see this protest as marking the mainstreaming of social media in Indian politics? Because it now seems almost certain that the 2029 general election will be fought as much as on social media, as much as it is physically there, particularly Instagram, as on the ground. In fact, we saw this dynamic play out quite early in the Tamil Nadu elections there, where the Gen Z is toppling governments elsewhere. We have Gen Z, making actor and politician Vijay as the chief minister here. How do you view this?
No, social media has increasingly played a role from election to election, right from the time of 2009 election, when social media in some primitive form had begun existing. There was Twitter by 2009. Uh, Various parties use it. Mr. Advani, who was the leader of the BJP, in terms of being the prime ministerial candidate in the 2009 parliamentary election, he had a significant social media team backing, his campaign unit. Uh, but it has increased, and I definitely would say that till so far, the social media had not played such a role directly in a social and political protest. Though, if you remember, even in 2011, on the issue of India against corruption, when that agitation was raging with Anna Hazare the lead, social media was used to basically transmit a lot of information, to mobilize people, make statements, and all that was done. But yes, the outreach was not as much because as many number of Indians as exist now who have adapted to social media were not there. So we have a much wider readership and a viewership of the social media in 2026 than what existed 15 years ago. So definitely it is a very significant thing. And it shows that social media, despite the fact that it was Mr. Modi and the BJP who actually started taking recourse to it in the last few years of the first decade of the 21st century. But now anybody can use it for their own advantage. Social media in this round was used essentially and damaged Mr. Modi and the BJP very badly. So they will have to look at ways as to how they can, spread their message and also control the message of others. Uh, Internet shutdowns is past tense now. People can just shoot videos and walk half a kilometer and upload your video. You can do that.
That's right. All right, sir. Thank you very much. Such a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you.